The year 2336 marked the end of Earth. It began with an announcement that shattered humanity's illusions of safety. A massive alien fleet, the Zorvath Dominion, had emerged from deep space, moving with terrifying speed toward the Sol system. The United Earth Government, UEG, despite centuries of technological advancement, was woefully unprepared. The Zorvath were old, far older than humanity, and their war doctrine was simple: subjugation or annihilation. Admiral Elias Grant, Supreme Commander of Earth's Defense Forces, stood on the bridge of the UNS Warspite, watching the incoming fleet on the holodouble. Tens of thousands of ships, bristling with weapons beyond anything humanity had ever seen, darkened the void like an oncoming storm. The fleet had already obliterated Mars, turning its colonies into molten slag. The few survivors whispered horror stories about biomechanical monstrosities descending onto the surface, harvesting humans like livestock. There would be no negotiation. The battle for Earth was over before it began. The UEG launched every warship it had, from nimble destroyers to the massive orbital platforms bristling with railguns. But against the sheer might of the Zorvath, it was like throwing pebbles at a hurricane. The aliens wielded technology that defied physics, dark matter weapons that erased ships in a single strike, gravity lances that bent spacetime itself, Even Earth's planetary defense grid, the pride of human engineering, barely slowed them down. In just 14 hours, the battle was lost. Cities burned. New York, Tokyo, Berlin, gone. The screams of billions echoed in the void as Zorvath shock troopers descended from the sky, massacring any who resisted. And yet, despite the overwhelming power of their enemy, humanity did what it had always done: they fought. A desperate evacuation plan was enacted. Admiral Grant and a coalition of survivors, scientists, soldiers, and leaders, fled to the outer colonies. The hope was to regroup, to survive long enough to fight another day. A fleet of hastily armed colony ships, escorted by the remnants of the Terran Navy, vanished into the dark. As Earth's atmosphere turned to fire and the last human cities were consumed by the onslaught, humanity became a species without a home. But they were not defeated. In the dying light of their cradle world, a new fire was kindled. One that would burn across the stars. Humanity was now a species adrift in the void. Admiral Elias Grant stood on the bridge of the UNS Warspite, staring out at the scattered remnants of his people. A fleet of nearly 1,000 ships, hastily loaded with refugees, supplies, and the last desperate hopes of a dying species, drifted through the abyss beyond Sol. Behind them, Earth was nothing more than a silent grave, its once blue surface now charred and lifeless under Zorvath control. They had escaped annihilation, for now. But survival would not be easy. ###1 The Exodus begins ****. The fleet was running on fumes. While the UEG had always maintained deep space colonies, most were ill-equipped to handle an influx of hundreds of millions of displaced humans. Food shortages were immediate. Medical supplies ran out within weeks. And worse still, the Zorvath were hunting them. Grant's fleet had barely left the Sol system when the first pursuit force arrived, Zorvath raiders designed to snuff out any remnants of humanity before they could recover. With superior speed and weaponry, the aliens crippled dozens of ships in minutes, forcing humanity into a desperate flight. But they were not helpless. On board the Warspite, Commodore Iko Voss devised a plan. Instead of running, they would fight smart. Using the dense asteroid fields of the Gliese system, humanity lured the Zorvath into a chaotic brawl. While the enemy relied on overwhelming firepower, human ships were more agile, more cunning, destroyers ambushed from behind space debris. Hackers aboard refugee ships overrode Zorvath targeting systems, turning their own weapons against them. For the first time since Earth's fall, humanity struck back. The Zorvath force, expecting a quick slaughter, instead suffered crippling losses. Only a handful of their ships survived, limping back to their masters. It wasn't a victory in the grand scheme of things, but it proved something vital. Humanity wasn't dead yet. ###2 The struggle for a new home ****. The fleet eventually reached Eden 4, a lush, Earth-like world deep in the Sagittarius cluster. Scientists confirmed it was habitable. Crops could grow. Water was plentiful. It could be their new home. The refugees called it New Earth. For months, they worked tirelessly, constructing underground cities and orbital defenses. Humanity had learned the hard way that no planet was safe, not unless it was turned into a fortress. They repurposed civilian ships into war frigates, trained civilians into soldiers, and built the first generation of what would become the Terran Remnant's military force. ####3 The enemy returns ****. Then came the Zorvath Inquisitor fleet. Survivors from Gliese had reported back, and the Zorvath Dominion had discovered Eden 4. This time, they weren't sending raiders. They were sending an armada. Admiral Grant gathered his war council. The situation was grim. Even with all their preparations, humanity was still outnumbered, outgunned, and isolated. But they were not broken. Commodore Voss proposed an insane idea: if the Zorvath were going to wipe them out, humanity would make them bleed for every inch. The plan was bold, *****too bold, *****. Instead of meeting the Zorvath in orbit, they would lure them into the atmosphere of Eden 4, where anti-orbital cannons and atmospheric conditions would disrupt their formations. Meanwhile, a fleet of human warships, ***** hiding in the planet's shadow ****, would ambush them from behind. The battle that followed was legendary. Human ships weaved between enemy formations, fighting like wolves against a monstrous predator. Cities burned, forests were turned to ash, and the planet's skies were set ablaze with the wreckage of fallen ships, but in the end, humanity held the line. For the first time, a full Zorvath fleet was repelled. ###4 The dawn of the Terran Remnant *****. The War Council met once more. Eden 4 was safe for now, but the Zorvath would return, stronger, angrier. "We cannot run forever," Grant declared. "If humanity is to survive, we must do more than defend. We must become a force they fear." Thus, the Terran Remnant was born. They were no longer refugees. They were warriors. And this was only the beginning. Eden 4 had become more than just a sanctuary, it was the birthplace of humanity's rebirth. The victory against the Zorvath Inquisitor fleet sent shockwaves through the galaxy. For the first time, an inferior species had repelled the might of the Dominion. Across the stars, oppressed worlds, broken civilizations, and subjugated species took notice. If humans could fight back, ****, perhaps they could, too, ****. But survival was not enough. Admiral Elias Grant and his war council knew that the Zorvath would return. Bigger. Stronger. Smarter, ****, there would be no second lucky defense. Humanity needed to become more than survivors. They had to become warriors. ###1 The forging of an army ****. The transformation of humanity began on Eden 4. The underground bunkers and makeshift cities became fortresses. What was once a desperate band of refugees became the Terran Remnant. Recruitment became universal. Every man, woman, and child was trained in combat. Scientists reverse-engineered captured Zorvath technology, while engineers built new war machines, blending human ingenuity with alien firepower. Mass-driver cannons, railgun-equipped starfighters, and AI-assisted tactical warfare systems were all developed at an alarming pace. And then there were the Black Corps. Led by Commodore Iko Voss, the Black Corps were humanity's first true special forces. They trained in extreme conditions, their bodies and minds pushed past normal human limits. They learned Zorvath tactics, language, and weaknesses. Each operative became a ghost, capable of infiltrating enemy worlds and sowing chaos behind enemy lines. ###2 The first expansion ****. Humanity needed more than one planet. Eden 4 could not support a growing war machine alone. So, the Remnant launched the Expansion Initiative. Strike teams scouted nearby star systems, looking for habitable worlds, abandoned stations, and Zorvath supply lines ripe for plunder. They found hidden colonies of other species the Zorvath had nearly wiped out. Many had given up hope, until humanity arrived. The Terran remnant made them an offer: fight with us, and you will never be slaves again. Some refused. Others hesitated. But when the remnant launched a daring raid on a Zorvath labor camp, freeing thousands of prisoners, the galaxy took notice. ###3. The raid that changed everything. ****. Deep in the Andrus sector, the Zorvath had established a planet-wide slave complex. Thousands of beings, humans and aliens alike, were forced to mine raw materials for the Dominion's endless war machine. The remnant had no illusions of mercy. There was only one way to deal with a system like this. They would burn it to the ground. Using stealth ships, the Black Corps infiltrated the camp, planting explosives on key infrastructure. Meanwhile, a disguised freighter carrying remnant marines broke through planetary defenses, unloading shock troops in the heart of the camp. The Zorvath never saw it coming. Within hours, the complex was in flames, slaves were freed, enemy supply depots were destroyed, and in a final act of defiance, the remnant hijacked 3 Zorvath warships. The battle ended with a single message broadcast across the Dominion's networks: "We are the Terran remnant. We do not forgive. We do not forget. And we are coming for you." ###4. Allies and enemies take notice. The raid sent shockwaves across the galactic underworld. The Zorvath issued a bounty on all humans, offering unimaginable wealth for any who betrayed them. Some mercenaries tried to collect. They were never heard from again. But more importantly, the oppressed races of the galaxy saw something they had never seen before: a species that had lost everything, yet still refused to bow. Rebel factions, exiled warlords, and underground movements began reaching out to the remnant. Small alliances were forged, secret supply lines established. Humanity was no longer fighting alone. But the victory came at a cost. The Dominion had finally acknowledged humanity as a true threat. And in response, they sent an extermination fleet. ###5. The eve of war. Admiral Grant stood before the Council, watching the incoming fleet reports. The Zorvath were no longer playing games. This was no mere raiding force, this was a full-scale planetary invasion. Eden 4 had to be abandoned. The Council debated. Some argued to stand and fight, to prove that humanity would never run again. But Commodore Voss disagreed. "We don't need to fight like them," she said. "We fight smarter." And so, Operation Phantom Storm was born. Instead of engaging the enemy directly, humanity would use hit-and-run tactics, ambushes, and psychological warfare to whittle them down. They would lead the Zorvath into a war of attrition, one they could not win. The remnant fleet evacuated Eden, for just before the invasion fleet arrived, the Zorvath landed to find nothing but scorched ruins, booby traps, and false intelligence. And in the dark void of space, the remnant waited for their moment to strike. The war for humanity's survival had truly begun. The war had begun. The Zorvath Dominion, enraged by humanity's defiance, had dispatched an extermination fleet, tens of thousands of warships, countless ground troops, and entire legions of their monstrous bioengineered shock soldiers. But when they arrived at Eden 4, there was nothing left to conquer. The planet was a trap. Fields of automated defense turrets lay hidden beneath the surface. Orbital debris, left behind from their previous battle, was rigged with explosives. The remnants of a human-made artificial intelligence, Sci-Fi 9, infiltrated the Dominion's fleet networks, corrupting targeting systems and turning warships against one another. And yet, this was only the beginning. For while the Zorvath fleet struggled in the ruins of Eden 4, the Terran remnant was already striking elsewhere. ###1. The Shadow War begins. Commodore Iko Voss, leader of the Black Corps, had personally led a series of precision strikes across Dominion space. Using stolen Zorvath warships and disguises, human infiltration teams sowed chaos behind enemy lines. Fuel depots exploded without warning. Supply chains were shattered, key Zorvath leaders were assassinated in their own strongholds. The Zorvath, used to brute force tactics, were not prepared for an enemy that fought from the shadows. But humanity was no longer just fighting for survival. They were hunting the hunters. ####2. The Battle of Rho, 91 ****. The first true space battle of the war took place in the Rho, 91 system, a vital hyperspace junction. If humanity could control it, they could cripple Zorvath reinforcements. Admiral Elias Grant, knowing the Remnant's fleet was still outnumbered and outgunned, devised a plan that would play to their strengths. Instead of engaging in a head-on battle, humanity would turn the battlefield itself into a weapon. Using a combination of gravity mines, hidden railgun platforms, and AI-assisted battle formations, the Remnant fleet lured the Zorvath into a narrow kill zone. Destroyers launched decoy signals, baiting the Zorvath into thinking they had an opening. When the enemy rushed in, the trap was sprung. Railguns fired from hidden asteroid bases, tearing through Zorvath shields. Remnant corvettes moved like wolves, attacking from unexpected angles, using pinpoint missile strikes to devastate the enemy's command ships. The battle lasted 36 hours. In the end, the Zorvath fleet was annihilated. Humanity had won its first true space victory. And the galaxy was watching. ####3. The Sparks of Rebellion ****. The destruction of the Zorvath fleet at Rho, 91 sent shockwaves across the galactic community. The Dominion had always been undisputed in its rule. But now? A refugee species known as the Drellic reached out to the Terran remnant. They had been one of the many species enslaved and crushed under Zorvath rule. But now, they saw a chance to fight back. One by one, others followed. Former mercenaries, pirate clans, and small resistance cells pledged themselves to the cause. The Terran remnant was no longer just humanity. It was becoming a revolution. ####4. The Turning Point, Assault on Forge World Urdak ****. The Terran remnant spies soon uncovered a critical piece of intelligence. The Zorvath were producing a new superweapon, a massive planetary-scale factory on Forge World Urdak that could mass-produce warships at a rate 10 times faster than humanity's entire fleet. If it went online, the war would be over. Humanity had no choice. They had to destroy it. Admiral Grant, Commodore Voss, and the growing War Council devised a three-phase attack ***. 1. Infiltration ***. The Black Corps would sneak into Urdak's planetary defense network, disabling shields and orbital cannons. 2. Distraction ***. A small remnant fleet would simulate an invasion on the other side of the system, drawing Zorvath reinforcements away. 3. The Strike ***. The main attack force, consisting of every warship the remnant could spare, would launch a full-scale assault on Urdak, destroying the planet's core power stations and wiping out the shipyards. The battle that followed was one of the bloodiest in human history. Black Corps operatives hacked Urdak's defense systems, plunging the planet into chaos. The Terran fleet emerged from warp at high velocity, using their speed to tear through the Zorvath lines before they could react. Even still, the Zorvath fought back with savage ferocity. Human warships were torn apart in the crossfire, entire battalions were lost. But humanity did not break. In a final, desperate push, the UNS Warspite, now heavily damaged, crashed directly into the factory's core, triggering a planetary meltdown. As the explosion ripped through Urdak, the remaining remnant forces fled. The superweapon was destroyed. ####5. Humanity's Rise ****. The victory at Urdak was unthinkable. The Zorvath Dominion, once unstoppable, had suffered an irreparable blow. Their fleets were weakened. Their supply lines were crumbling. And worst of all? The galaxy had seen their defeat. The whispers of rebellion grew louder, more factions began defecting from the Dominion. Even some of the Zorvath themselves, those who had long doubted their empire's cruelty, began to question. Humanity had proven itself. They were no longer just a remnant. They were a power. And for the first time, the Zorvath began to fear them. the war was no longer about survival. Humanity had spent years in the darkness, clawing its way back from the brink of extinction. They had fought like cornered animals, outnumbered and outgunned, striking from the shadows just to live another day. But now, the balance of power was shifting. The destruction of Forge World Urdak had crippled the Zorvath Dominion's war machine, their fleets were stretched thin, struggling to put down rebellions that had ignited across their empire. The once mighty Dominion was faltering. And the Terran remnant? They were no longer the hunted. They had become the hunters. ####1 Humanity's new arsenal ****. With the galaxy now watching, Admiral Elias Grant and Commodore Iko Voss led a massive military expansion. The Terran remnant was no longer just a scattered fleet of refugees, it was an empire in the making. The Forge worlds of Tau Ceti * reverse-engineered Zorvath technology allowed humanity to build the next generation of warships, stealth frigates, high-speed corvettes, and planet-cracking dreadnoughts rolled out of newly constructed shipyards. The Iron Legion's * with millions of new recruits, the remnant transformed its ground forces into an elite military machine. Power armor, exoskeletal combat suits, and AI-assisted tactical networks turned human soldiers into walking nightmares for the Zorvath. Project Revenant * scientists unlocked the potential of cybernetic enhancements, creating augmented soldiers who could react faster, fight harder, and endure wounds that would kill an ordinary human. Humanity was no longer fighting to survive. They were preparing to conquer. ####2 The Liberation Campaign begins ****. With their forces ready, the Remnant launched the Liberation Campaign, a systematic war of destruction against the Zorvath Dominion. The plan was simple. 1. Cut off their supply lines. Human raiding fleets struck hyperspace trade routes, sabotaged fuel depots, and hacked Zorvath communication networks. 2. Cripple their leadership. Black Core assassins infiltrated Zorvath command centers, eliminating key warlords and governors. 3. Turn their own people against them. Using captured Zorvath technology, humanity broadcasted encrypted messages to enslaved species, coordinating uprisings across multiple systems. World by world, the Dominion began to crumble. On New Kasara, human shock troopers fought alongside the Drellic rebels, toppling an entire Zorvath occupation force. On Vorn Prime, the cybernetically enhanced Revenant squads wiped out a Zorvath war council in under 6 minutes. On Zorvath-controlled Terra Nova, human engineers hacked planetary defense grids, turning them against their own masters. The war was no longer defensive. It was retribution. ####3 The Reckoning at Jiranis 5 ****. Then came Jiranis 5. It was one of the Dominion's most heavily fortified worlds, a key stronghold, home to millions of Zorvath civilians and military personnel. The Remnant fleet had two choices. Bypass it and let the Dominion regroup. Strike hard and break them once and for all. The decision was made. The Remnant launched the largest planetary assault in human history. Orbital railguns turned Zorvath citadels to rubble, drop pods rained from the sky, delivering legions of cybernetically enhanced Revenant soldiers straight into the heart of the enemy defenses. The battle was merciless. The Zorvath, cornered and desperate, unleashed horrors never before seen, **** genetically modified berserkers, neutron bomb suicide ****, and even civilian militias brainwashed into fighting to the death. But humanity was past mercy. For every fallen human soldier, 10 Zorvath died screaming. When the dust settled, Jiranis 5 was in human hands. And for the first time, the Zorvath High Command realized the truth. They were losing. ####4 The Betrayal of the Zorvath High Warlords ****. As the war dragged on, the cracks in the Dominion deepened. Seeing the Remnant's unstoppable advance, several Zorvath warlords turned on their own empire. They saw which way the war was heading, and they knew their only chance of survival was to cut a deal with humanity. A summit was arranged in neutral space. Admiral Grant and Commodore Voss met with the defecting warlords aboard the UNS Titan, humanity's first superdreadnought. The warlords offered intelligence, access codes, and even their own fleets, in exchange for amnesty after the war. It was an unprecedented moment. For centuries, the Zorvath had ruled without question. Now, their own leaders were betraying them to humans. The war was reaching its final phase. ###5. The march to the Zorvath homeworld ****. The Dominion was collapsing. Entire fleets were defecting or surrendering. Planets once thought unassailable fell in mere weeks. The Terran remnant, once a scattered group of survivors, now commanded one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. And only one battle remained. The Zorvath homeworld, Zorkon. The seat of their empire. Their last stronghold. If humanity took Zorkon, the war would be over. Admiral Grant gave the order. The full strength of the remnant fleet, tens of thousands of warships, cybernetically enhanced shock troopers, Black Core assassins, and AI-assisted war machines, **** set course for the Zorvath home system ****. They would end this war where it began. And the Zorvath knew it. Across the Dominion, the last loyalists rallied for a final stand. They would not go down quietly. The greatest battle in galactic history was about to begin. The final war for humanity's future had begun. The Terran remnant had fought for years, clawing their way back from near extinction. Now, they stood at the gates of the Zorvath Dominion's throne world, Zorkon. This was no mere battle. This was the endgame. Every fleet, every soldier, every war machine the Dominion could muster stood in defense of their dying empire. And humanity was coming for them. ###1. The Siege of Zorkon ****. The Zorvath had transformed their homeworld into a fortress. Orbital defense platforms ringed the planet, bristling with plasma cannons and hypervelocity railguns. A defensive fleet numbering in the tens of thousands waited in high orbit. On the surface, entire continent-sized military districts housed legions of Zorvath warriors, bio-enhanced shock troops, and warbeasts engineered for planetary defense. To break Zorkon, humanity would need to unleash everything. And so they did. The Remnant Fleet, now the largest human armada in history, emerged from hyperspace with devastating precision. Planet Cracker dreadnoughts launched high-yield kinetic strikes, shattering orbital platforms before they could fire. AI-assisted corvettes weaved through enemy formations, cutting through Zorvath capital ships with surgical precision. Black Core operatives, already on the planet, sabotaged planetary shields, opening a path for the ground assault. The battle for Zorkon had begun. ###2. The fall of the Dominion's Grand Fleet ****. The Zorvath High Command had one last gamble. They launched their entire remaining fleet in a final, desperate bid to destroy the remnant forces. The battle that followed was the largest space engagement in recorded history. The UNS Titan, humanity's superdreadnought, led the charge, its railguns ripping through Zorvath battleships. Zorvath suicide squadrons crashed into human cruisers, willing to die if it meant taking the enemy with them. The Black Core, hidden in the wreckage of the battlefield, boarded enemy flagships, assassinating high-ranking admirals mid-battle. For 3 days and 3 nights, the two most powerful fleets in history clashed. And when the smoke cleared, the Terran remnant stood victorious. The Zorvath Grand Fleet was annihilated. Zorkon's sky burned. But the war was not over. ###3. The battle for the planet ****. With the space defenses shattered, humanity launched the largest ground invasion in history. Millions of cybernetically enhanced Revenant troops landed across the planet. Mech divisions, armed with AI-assisted targeting, marched through city ruins, crushing Zorvath armor with impunity. Drellic rebels and defecting Zorvath soldiers joined the fight, turning the Dominion's own people against them. But the Zorvath refused to surrender. For every street the remnant took, the Zorvath made them pay in blood. Entire districts were turned to ash by orbital bombardments. Bio-enhanced war beasts tore through human shock troopers before being cut down. Zorvath civilians, brainwashed by centuries of propaganda, fought to the death. It was war at its most brutal, its most merciless. And humanity did not falter. ###4. The death of the High Emperor ****. Deep within the last remaining fortress, Zorvath High Emperor Vekare made his final stand. The fortress was impenetrable, its shields were unbreakable. So, humanity sent ghosts. A Black Corps kill team, led by Commodore Eiko Voss herself, infiltrated the fortress. They fought through legions of elite guards, disabling defenses, cutting through warlords who had ruled the galaxy for centuries. Finally, they reached the throne room. Vekare, last ruler of the Dominion, stood waiting. The fight that followed was legendary. The High Emperor, wielding a Zorvath warblade, moved faster than any human could track. Voss, enhanced with cybernetic reflexes, matched him blow for blow. The throne room collapsed around them as their battle tore through its walls. And in the end, humanity stood victorious. With one final strike, Voss plunged her blade into the Emperor's chest. The last ruler of the Zorvath Dominion fell. The war was over. ###5. The dawn of a new age ****. The Zorvath Dominion was no more. Their fleets were destroyed. Their armies defeated. Their homeworld burned. And humanity? They had risen from the ashes of Earth to become the most powerful force in the galaxy. But power brought questions. What came next? Some argued for conquest. If humanity had crushed one empire, why stop? They could rule the stars. Others demanded justice. The Zorvath had enslaved countless species, should they be wiped out in return? Admiral Grant believed in something greater. Humanity should not become what they had destroyed. And so, a new order was born. The Terran Federation, a coalition of humans and former Zorvath slaves, took shape. Instead of ruling with an iron fist, humanity offered unity. Not through oppression, but through strength. Because humanity had proven a truth that would never be forgotten. They could not be broken. And when they rose, they did not rise alone. They brought the entire galaxy with them. The war was over. The Zorvath Dominion, once the most feared empire in the galaxy, lay in ruins. Their fleets had been shattered, their armies crushed, and their homeworld conquered. The High Emperor was dead, and with him, the centuries-long reign of terror that had enslaved countless species. And at the center of it all, stood humanity. They had risen from the ashes of Earth, fought against impossible odds, and rewritten history. But the war had not just changed the galaxy. It had changed them. The question remained, what would they become? ###1. The aftermath of war ****. The fall of Zorkon sent shockwaves across the stars. Zorvath warlords surrendered en masse, some begging for mercy, others trying to flee to the edges of space. Entire slave worlds, once shackled under the Dominion's rule, were freed overnight. Former Dominion species, some once enemies of humanity, now looked to the Terran Federation for leadership. But victory had its costs. Over half of the Terran remnant's fleet was lost, millions of human soldiers had died in the war. Entire planets had been turned to ash. The scars of war ran deep, and not just on the battlefield. There was no going back to the way things were before. Humanity was no longer just a species. They had become a galactic power. And now, they had to decide what to do with it. ###2. The trials of the conquered ****. The remaining Zorvath leaders were rounded up and put on trial. Their crimes? Genocide. Slavery. War atrocities beyond measure, ****. The galaxy demanded vengeance. Some factions, especially the former slave races, ****, wanted every last Zorvath executed, ****. They had suffered too long, and now, it was their turn to see the Dominion burn. Others, including Admiral Grant and Commodore Voss, argued for a different path. They had fought to destroy tyranny, not to replace it. In the end, a new kind of justice was created. The worst war criminals were executed or exiled to barren worlds. High-ranking Zorvath officers were forced to rebuild the planets they had once enslaved. The remaining Zorvath? They were given a choice: integrate into the new order, or vanish into exile. It was mercy, but it was also a warning. The days of cruelty and conquest were over. For the first time in history, the galaxy would be ruled not by fear, but by strength and unity. ####3 The Rise of the Terran Federation ****. From the ashes of war, a new order emerged. The Terran Federation was formed, not as an empire, but as an alliance of free worlds. Humanity did not demand control. Instead, they offered protection. They had proven themselves the strongest force in the galaxy, but they did not rule through oppression. They ruled through respect. Former slave species were given full autonomy, but remained under the Federation's military protection. Humanity rebuilt the shattered war-torn worlds, not as conquerors, but as allies. New technologies were shared: Terran cybernetics, AI-assisted warfare, and the Zorvatha's own powerful weaponry were used to create a new golden age of progress. What had once been a desperate remnant of humanity was now the most advanced civilization in the known galaxy. And yet, humanity never forgot what had brought them here. They never became complacent. Because they knew that power could be lost just as quickly as it was gained. ###4 The Return to Earth ****. For years, Earth had been a dead world. A graveyard. A relic of a time long past. But now, for the first time in over a century, a human fleet returned to Sol. The first landing teams stepped onto the blackened soil of their homeworld. The ruins of cities still stood, half buried under dust and time. The scars of the Zorvatha's orbital bombardment had not faded. The bones of the fallen still remained. And yet, Earth was not empty. Life had begun to return. The oceans had healed. Forests had started to regrow ****. Humanity had left Earth as survivors. Now, they returned as conquerors. And soon, they would make it their home once more. A symbol that no matter how many times they were knocked down, they would always rise again. ###5 A warning to the stars ****. As the Federation grew, so too did the whispers in the dark. Not everyone saw humanity as a liberator. Some feared them. Some envied them. There were those who whispered of revenge, of new enemies waiting beyond known space, of ancient horrors that had watched the war from the shadows. The war for survival had ended. But humanity's mission was far from over. The galaxy had learned something undeniable. Humanity was no longer prey. They were no longer the weak ones. If war ever came to them again, they would not wait in fear. They would bring the fight to the enemy. And this time, they would not hold back. ###6 The Legacy of Humanity ****. Generations passed. The stories of the war became legend. The names of the great warriors, ****, Admiral Elias Grant, Commodore Iko Voss, the Revenant Legions, ****, were spoken in hushed tones, their battles studied by future generations. The Terran Federation stood unchallenged, a beacon of strength, unity, and resilience. And yet, deep in the void, among the stars that no human had yet set foot upon, something watched. Something waited. Because if history had taught one thing, it was this: the galaxy would never be free of war. And when the next great enemy arrived, humanity would be ready. For they had been forged in fire. They had risen from the ashes. And they would never fall again.